Hey guys, Omar here, back again this time doing an episode of Vainglory. This time this is a little bit different. We do have a pre-recorded video in the background. There is going to be no sound. This was a video I was going to scrap because of the fact that my microphone wasn't recording when I was trying to make this video. And therefore all you hear is the gameplay and people responding to me but not actually hearing me. So I was going to scrap it. This was the video before the one I actually uploaded, the CP Krul. This one was a little bit unique, and I really wanted to upload it because it was a bottom lane CP Krul. I was forced into it. I wasn't expecting it. Basically, we had somebody force me into there, and I'm just like, you know what? I will just deal with it and see if I can make it work. And as you guys will watch, it was quite fun. But anyways, so the reason why I wanted to do it this way is because I do want to talk about what's going on in the Vainglory community as far as the game. Obviously, a lot of us know what's been happening with the news there and how that affects pretty much every player in Vainglory. And I wanted to address that in my opinions and my assumptions of what's going to happen going forward. So for those who don't know, which I think at this point are probably very few, but in case there are none, or there are some, what's happening is that Vainglory has announced that they're going to be shifting the servers from the official servers of Vainglory to now a community-based run server system. So community organizers, like third parties, are going to be running their own servers for Vainglory, or people who are in the community who want to step up and make their own servers can do it as well. But there aren't going to be any more official Vainglory servers. The cost is too high for SCMC, especially since all their focus is pushed towards Spellfire right now. They cannot sustain the financial burden of running those servers anymore, especially because of the situation with Rogue, which is very shitty of Rogue. But I do get some aspects as to why that decision was made by Rogue, but the way they went about it, which I'll get into later, was pretty bad, especially in the business world, I feel like. But anyways, we'll get into that in a little bit. So the biggest thing is that, again, we're no longer going to have official servers. We're going to have community-run servers, which could be good. It could be good. It could be really, really bad. You know, so like there was already some issues server side when it was run by SMC. Now imagine a company or just a community member running these servers themselves. I feel like that opens up the doors to a lot of issues, a lot of technical issues. That's going to overall impact the experience of each player who are playing on that server very negatively. Hopefully that's not the case. I'm hoping that someone will take over that can actually properly manage the servers and keep it a very buttery smooth experience. And hopefully that's the case and we can all be pretty happy with it. There is another stipulation with this news, is that SMC did announce that there's not going to be any more new content coming to Vainglory for the foreseeable future. What that means is that there's no new heroes. We have already gotten all the heroes that they're going to make. There's going to be no more new skins, no more new features. The UI will change a bit, but only because they're removing a lot of features. And so therefore they're going to simplify the UI, from what I understand, in order to compensate for those missing features, because they don't want to just leave those features up and just leave a game in that state where like you have all these visible assets that aren't being used. It's just kind of dumb. So they're going to fix that. But yeah, so that is another hard fact to swallow. Choice of words were kind of bad there. You know, but anyways, it's a very hard pill to swallow there because, you know, as a content creator or just as a player for this game, content is what makes us want to come back and play more. At least in my opinion. It may be different for you. I think everybody's different in some way, right? So maybe some people just like playing the game for what it is, even if there's no new content. That's fine. I respect that. But I think the vast majority in these types of games definitely need to have more and more content come in to keep the game alive and thriving and get players who are playing it, you know, continually interested in that new content and keep them playing. And then those who are coming into the game, they'll enjoy the game for what it is for a while, but then eventually they'll follow suit into that mindset where like, okay, I played everything. I kind of know everything that this game has to offer. I don't really want to play it anymore because there's nothing new. And so that starts to be this snowball effect where like eventually it just degrades the overall experience, and people just don't want to play anymore, and then therefore queue times increase, and the experience there also decreases, and then therefore eventually servers shut down because there's no one playing on it, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And unfortunately, I think that's where this is going, especially given that now they're opening it up to the community to have community-run servers, which definitely means that there's a potential for multiple servers within the same region. So Vainglory already is kind of small as a community. It's kind of a niche community, but it was funneled into a very specific region, right? So like all of NA players play with NA. I think that includes even Canada, right? But now we're gonna have that community split even further, because there's going to be multiple servers with different balances for the game. So like therefore some people might prefer a certain balance tweak than the other server and go to that server. And then so now the community is split, and therefore it just means even longer queue times, and it just means just everything starts to snowball even harder, and it's not a good environment for a game, especially one that doesn't have a modding scene. So like what I mean by that is, the one thing I was hoping out of this was that, okay, we're not going to have any more new content from SCMC. That's great. You know, that's awesome news, right? Yay, no new content. Fuck. You know, that's not great. I was being sarcastic. But anyway, so what I was hoping was that with that, the information that was going to follow was that, hey, I know there's going to be no new content from SCMC themselves, but we are opening up our engine to allow the community to make their own content. If they wanted to add their own heroes, add their own special effects, add their own abilities, so on and so forth, maybe add a fourth ability to all the heroes. I don't know. Things like that could have been a possibility if they had opened up the community to become a modding scene. An example of this would be like Skyrim. Skyrim is kind of a different type of game, but the game itself exists solely as a experience with finite content, and that's what we're sitting at right now with Vainglory. Vainglory is now considered a game with finite content. There is a limited amount of content and nothing more. So we're now in that phase with Vainglory. With Skyrim, they've been in that phase, but they always open it up to allow the modding scene to make the content basically infinite, where there's an infinite amount of possibilities because people can add whatever they want. Add whatever new feature they want, add whatever content they want, add new heroes, add new features, so on and so forth. All this stuff can be brought by the community instead of the developers, and open up a slew of possibilities and fun features and just really fun experiences for everybody in the community. Unfortunately, they said no to that too. I understand why, but they basically don't want to make their engine open source because it reveals their secrets and how they code their engine, especially since they're still using this engine to make games for the future for their company. So I get that, but again, that kind of just pushes the whole issue with Vainglory even further, that, hey, look, it's a dead game. You know, like, it's dead in the water. Like, there's nothing that's going to push it forward. It's kind of weird, too. It's kind of contradictory, where, like, they're like, hey, yeah, we're going to push the servers to be community-owned now, and we want to see how creative you guys can get with it. Well, I mean, if the only thing you allow us to do is to change the balance of the heroes, the creative side of the community basically is gimped. You can't do anything. You can create these imaginary rules that people can follow by, but it doesn't enforce them because it's not a feature. You know, and you can't have the creative aspect of making new heroes because, well, we don't have an open source engine, so therefore that's kind of scrapped. So like, what kind of creative side are you kind of thinking of? Like, I don't really get that. I just think it was just like a phrase to kind of say, hey, look, it's still alive and you can still do some stuff to make it interesting. It's not completely dead. I think that's what the gist of that comment was that it's not completely dead. There is a few things you can do to get creative, but realistically, there's not a lot we can do. I think as a community, there's a lot we can do to keep it alive as long as possible. Obviously, content creators are a big help with streamers, keeping people interested and engaged in the community, and just kind of exploring new builds or whatever. Same thing with YouTube, the same concept is just keeping people engaged, keeping people interested in certain heroes or certain builds, and just continually playing because of that. Yeah, I think that kind of does help in the community sense to keep the game alive. But as a content creator myself, there's only so far or only so much you can do to keep a game alive that doesn't have continually updated content, new content. Most YouTubers you see do content on a game that has more and more new content every month or every other month, at least has some kind of update schedule, right? Fortnite, PUBG, Brawl Stars, Mobile Legends, Wild Rift's gonna have the same system. I'm trying to think of a games that, Skyrim. Skyrim itself doesn't have new DLC from the company, Bethesda itself, but it has a modding scene, and therefore there's a slew of content to cover. There are channels who are still doing Skyrim-only content and are thriving because of the community, being able to make new content through the community and not even have to worry about Bethesda adding anything. Those channels can survive because of that. But Vainglory basically has stripped any possibility of channels thriving on its already existing content. Basically it's reducing the threshold at which eventually a channel can, reach. It's the peak, and that peak is reaching lower and lower points. It was already at a low point when I was doing it way back when. I think 2017 was its peak, and then from there, like out of nowhere, it just started dropping more and more and more. And I'm not talking about my channel specifically. I'm talking about the Vainglory channel. I'm talking about Vainglory's social media pages. Like just everybody, streamers, everybody started losing viewership. It didn't matter what they did, what they changed, viewership was dropping. And now that's being compounded on. It's being amplified even further because of all this news that's breaking out. Anyways, I can go on forever. The next big thing was how Rogue handled it. Did I cover that? I don't know. But how Rogue handled it was pretty bad. They pretty much should have just told the community up front what was happening, and they didn't, and that was a pretty shitty thing to do. In a business sense, the last thing you want to do is shit on your community. The last thing you want to do is not communicate and just basically close down a game that people have. A lot of people have like 5+ years of time invested, money invested into this game, and to just shut it down without any notice is such a horrible move to make in a business. It only compounds even further later on down the road because people are going to see the other games that Rogue publishes or develops, and these people are going to be the people who they shafted in the Vainglory community and be like, I'm not going to play this game. I don't want to support this company. And that's going to be word of mouth, and it's going to compound over time because you just upsetted thousands and thousands of players and didn't even say a single thing, and was just going to completely devalue their time, their money that they spent in this game without a single word. And that's the most shittiest thing you can do as a community, for a community, as a developer or as a publisher, because your reputation is your gold. Like that is who you are. Your reputation dictates your success in a lot of ways. And to basically shaft the community for Vainglory, they tarnish their reputation so bad to the point where the CEO is now blocking everybody in the Vainglory community that has said anything critical about them. That's pretty bad. And there's been moments where like the CEO of Rogue has verbally attacked, this is in retaliation. He's not the initiator, but there were people who called him out, had some choice of words, but as a CEO, you don't want to step into those shoes and start insulting back. Like he was calling people like assholes and stuff like that. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, do you value your reputation? Do you value the future of your company at all? Like, I don't know if like doing what they did with Vainglory is going to ultimately destroy their company. I don't think it will entirely. I think it will have a negative impact on their name. Yes. I don't think it's going to transpire over a lifetime's worth of development for them. But it definitely is not going to cause any growth. It's going to do the opposite for a little while. There's going to be a lot of flack. There's going to be a lot of people who don't even play Vainglory that are going to hear the experiences from the Vainglory community and be like, wow, that's what they are like? What the hell? Like, why would I want to play their games anymore? Like, any company that wants to be successful needs to treat their community like they actually are the lifeblood of that company, because they are. That's literally what they are. It's like the success of your company is directly related to the community that you're building. So, I don't know. It's just a really shitty experience. Rogue should have handled it far better. I understand if the game can't financially sustain itself, and that due to, say, for instance, the COVID-19 situation probably affected them financially, and they've had to make some tough decisions. They've had to make some calls that they weren't anticipating. So, for instance, maybe this was something they were thinking for a while, but they weren't going to do anything about it because, like, you know what? Let's just wait it out and see if maybe we can correct it. But then COVID-19 happened, and they're just like, oh my God, all our stocks, all our money we've invested in certain areas are going away because of this whole COVID-19 thing, which is, affecting, hundreds of thousands of millions of companies around the world, and therefore I'm sure they're not exempt, and therefore they had to make the decision to can Vainglory early, and not give it time to wait it out and see if they can correct it. And I understand if that was the situation, but the thing is, they didn't say anything, and therefore we were only left to assume what actually happened, which is not what you want to do, because then people assume the worst, because they're so passionate about the game that if the servers are closed and nothing is said, they assume the worst about those people who are trying to close the server, because there is no explanation to go off of. So yeah, they could have handled it far better, and I just think that was just a really bad decision for that company overall. And I'm not saying they're 100% at fault. They're not. Some of this does fall onto SCMC's lap as far as responsibility. Again, they could have marketed a lot better, so where they didn't have to be in this position to get a publisher. Another thing too was when grabbing a publisher or partnering with the publisher, I think they should have done a little bit more research with Rogue, because I've actually looked into Rogue a little bit, and just that little bit I looked into them, I'm like, I'm already seeing red flags. Like, a lot of their games are poorly rated on the store. I don't really think there's a game that they have that really, exemplifies like how great they are, because it doesn't. I don't think there's any game that actually makes it look like the company is worth the time to partner with, at least not yet. And my assumption, again, just an assumption, not fact, is that maybe there was just, SMC needed a solution. They knew that it's going to be really, really tough to do anything to make Vainglory successful without an excess of funds or a publisher. And maybe Rogue was the one that they had that was the best of all the options they had, and that was it. Those were the only options, and they had to make the decision. So I don't know. I just feel like that's it sucks. It sucks, man. Like, I wish it could have gone a different route. I wish Vainglory could have been successful. For the longest time, I've been hoping and waiting and seeing if it actually would, the developers would get the recognition they deserve, that they would actually end up being successful and making this huge dent in the mobile community as showing what a true game built through passion can actually do. And that's what Vainglory was. It was a game built through sweat, blood, and tears and passion, and it didn't get the recognition. And you see games like Mobile Legends, Bang Bang. Like, what kind of fucking name is that? But anyway, so like, you see games like that thrive, and they're such a crappy game. Like, the quality is obviously far lower than Vainglory, and I'm sure a lot of you guys here can agree with me. I mean, there have been some, addressing to that. The quality for Mobile Legends has obviously improved over time, but they're a company that rushed a product to maximize profit during the time that they were seeing the potential for mobiles on mobile. They didn't value quality first, which is what Vainglory has been doing since day one. Unfortunately, it's about, honestly, advertisements. Like, you can have the crappiest game, but if you have the perfect marketing, plan, like, it's gonna work out. Somehow it just ends up working out on the mobile market. Like, you see all these crappy games, like Rage Shadowlands, and no, this is not a sponsored video. I wouldn't even say yes to them. It's such a cash grab. It's such the quality of the game is so poor that I don't see how anybody can find an interest in that game. Yet it thrives because it has so much advertisement. If you put enough money towards it for marketing, it just somehow works out. It just does on the mobile market. it just does. Look at how many shitty games there are on the market that are making millions and millions of dollars. And Vainglory, with the quality of it can't even sustain itself. That's so bad. Like, it sucks. It's like when you basically, in a sense, I don't know if this analogy is correct, but it's basically like if you spent like a whole week on this amazing essay, right? And this is the best essay you've ever written. You spent so much time, blood, sweat, and tears writing this essay, and then someone swoops in and sees what you wrote, takes it, and becomes successful with it, even though they didn't actually do the legwork. They just kind of copied the format, copied the style of your essay, changing a few things, but basically did a really shitty version of it, but got a better grade on it than you did. Like, that doesn't make any sense, but this is how the world works, I guess, like, it's not about quality anymore. It's about how much money you can push towards marketing, and then that'll dictate your success, unfortunately. As long as you have a few key features, the reward system, you'll see it like all over mobile marketing. It's like the reward system gets people coming back. It gets people invested. It gets people addicted, basically, in seeing that next level, that next little bit of gems you can get to buy that one box that you're trying to get, which is obviously a gotcha system. Like it's basically gambling in a digital sense. Basically, if you can set up a gambling system on your game with a level of progression as well, you have the golden ticket. That's what you need. You just push money towards it and it works. Anyways, off topic once again. That's what I think was going to happen. So again, to reiterate real quickly, Vainglory is no longer going to have official servers. It's going to be community based. That might bring in some negatives as far as quality of the experience, such as server lag potentially. It also means no new content developed any further for Vainglory. No new heroes, no skins, no skills, no new features, no nothing. It's just going to be what it is now, and that's it. Their focus is 100% on Spellfire and Spellfire only now. And then also, Rogue did a really shitty move. There's nothing we can do about it other than just move on. It was really shitty, but it happened, and now there's nothing we can do. We just gotta hope that Vainglory can recover. Right now, I feel like it's probably impossible with the current solutions they have. But hopefully, Spellfire will be successful enough to maybe shift some funds towards Vainglory and try to readdress that at a later time, sometime in 2021, because that's when Spellfire comes out, I think. But yeah, there you go. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this gameplay. Hopefully, you guys found this little conversation a little bit informative and insightful. I know that a lot of it's based on my own assumptions. So I may have got some things wrong, or maybe just my opinion is not quite correct because, I just didn't really think about certain, aspects of the whole thought process. But overall, I think that I try to cover as best as I can what I think will happen. And I guess the only thing we can do is just see what happens in the next few months. But there you go. Also, as far as content, the last thing, I know a lot of you guys are asking, what am I going to do as far as content? I honestly don't know yet. I do want to keep uploading videos. There's my little Death Shadow 123. Yay! Hey guys, Death Shadow 123 here. But yeah, so I do feel like I do want to keep making content on Vainglory. I don't know how frequent, because again, content becomes very stale. And I guess I just have to play it by ear, see how it performs, and see if it's even worth pursuing anymore. But for now, I think I will continue to upload Vainglory as the servers allow me to. And then other games that are on my radar, obviously you guys have heard of the Brawl Stars one. I put a poll on that. I haven't played a lot of it. I'm at 5,000 trophies now. I'm trying to grind up to be at least relevant as far as skill. But for now, I'm just gonna play it. I don't know if I'll make content out just yet. So Brawl Stars is on my radar. Vainglory All-Stars, because I've been enjoying Brawl Stars, it's made me curious about All-Stars, or Vainglory All-Stars a bit more. So I want to see how that pans out. It is a Vainglory IP, which I'm hoping would kind of bring it a bit more into the field of nostalgia, and people can enjoy it for what it is, and it actually ends up being a semi-great experience. So that's what I'm hoping. And if it is, I'll make content on it. If it's not, then I'll probably just bypass it. So Brawl Stars, Vainglory All-Stars, Wild Rift is obviously one on my radar. I'm not fond of joystick controls, never have been and never will be, but I'll just have to adapt because, well, that's just what the market is. It's all virtual joysticks and buttons. Unfortunately, that's what's been working, and that's what Wild Rift is doing as well. Unless they surprise me with some tap controls, which would be amazing. You know, I like Vainglory because of the controls. That's one of the main reasons why. But unfortunately, no one has adapted to that as far as the development world. So we'll have to see. But Wild Rift is definitely on my radar. But I think we have a little while until it comes out. So when it does come out, you'll probably see me do some videos on it because, you know, it's just the closest thing to Vainglory right now that actually isn't a completely crappy product like Mobile Legends or AOV, in my opinion. If you play those games, no offense, it's just my opinion. If you play them, I respect that. You know, if it's fun for you, that's all you need to know. But in my opinion, I feel like it's not up to the level of quality I'm looking for in an experience, but I think Wild Rift might be able to fit that. But anyways, we'll have to see. And then I have been looking at Teamfight Tactics, but given that it's so prevalent on PC already and oversaturated there, I feel like just doing a mobile version of it would be kind of pointless. The difference between Wild Rift and Teamfight Tactics on mobile is Wild Rift is not League of Legends mobile 100%. It's its own thing in a sense. Like it has some obvious similarities, but it's like a different experience than League of Legends PC. Whereas Teamfight Tactics is essentially the same thing as the PC equivalent. Like there's no difference, I feel like. And therefore people would just watch the people who have already established themselves to begin with. Even if they play a mobile, they'll just watch the PC guy because, well, you know, it's still the same game. But yeah, so I don't know. I think that one's probably a no. But yeah, so Wild Rift, Brawl Stars, and Vainglory All Stars. If there is another game that you want me to check out, I'll definitely check it out. I am a little biased towards mobile because I am a mobile channel, so there is that to consider. But I will look at PC games, like for instance, I think one mentioned Spellbreak. I looked at a video and it looked really cool, but I'm not really into FPS type games. Although that's not a gun game. It is like a first-person shooter in a sense that you're shooting magic in first person. Well, it's third person, right? A third-person shooter. I'm not really into those types of games. Where it requires a really precise aim, like PUBG, Fortnite, any other battle royale of that kind of format. I'm not really into, as you guys can probably tell. So yeah, I don't know, but still, if you have any games you want me to check out that are, you know, thriving, that are popular, and could be fun for the community or for myself, definitely let me know in the comment section down below. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this gameplay of Krul CP Lane. Hopefully you guys found this conversation a bit more insightful and just kind of got my opinion as far as what's going on. I was silent for like 4 or 5 days, kind of collecting my thoughts and also handling other businesses. I had some homework to do. I went back to college. I don't think I've announced that ever, but I went back to college to kind of finish out my my education, and so I've been dealing with that too on the side. Since this whole thing with Vainglory kind of happened, I'm like, you know what? If this is going to happen, I'm just going to at least do something that's constructive with my time. And therefore I went back to college. But anyways, so yeah, that's that. And this is Death Shadow 123, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.